From the late 8th century to the mid-11th century, the Viking Age was driven by one piece of technology: the Scandinavian ship. These vessels allowed Norse crews to raid, trade, explore, and settle across a huge area, from North America to the Middle East. The Norse homelands in today's Norway, Denmark, and Sweden were full of fjords, islands, and broken coastline. Overland travel was slow and difficult, so movement by water became the normal way to reach other communities. That environment pushed shipbuilding to a very high level. Viking ships were clinker-built. Narrow wooden planks overlapped and fastened together with iron rivets. This gave the hull strength and flexibility, so it could bend with the waves instead of cracking. A single square sail provided speed in open water, and rows of oars gave control when the wind was weak or when maneuvering in tight spaces. Most war fleets used the longship, a narrow, shallow draft vessel with a crew of dozens. Because it did not sit deep in the water, a longship could cross the North Sea, then run up shallow rivers or be beached directly on open shores. Crews did not need harbors. They could land, fight, and leave before local forces had time to react. That design made raids like the 793 attack on the monastery of Lindisfarne possible. Longships crossed from Scandinavia to the coast of Northumbria, came straight up to the island, put warriors ashore on a lightly defended religious site, and then withdrew with loot and captives. Similar tactics were used against monasteries and ports around the British Isles, Francia, and other coastal regions. Longships also fought in naval battles. Commanders could line ships side by side and lash them together to create a floating platform. Crews then fought with spears, axes, and arrows at close range. Control of rivers and coasts often depended on who controlled these mobile wooden fortresses. For trade and transport, Norse builders used a different type, the gnar. This was broader and deeper hulled than a longship and could carry more cargo at the cost of speed. Gnars moved timber, iron, furs, walrus ivory, cloth, and enslaved people along routes that linked the Baltic, the North Sea, and the North Atlantic with markets in the Frankish kingdoms, the Byzantine Empire, and the Islamic world. These ships supported major trading towns such as Birka in Sweden, Hedeby in today's Germany, and Kaupang in Norway. Merchants used both sea routes and river systems. Norse groups known as the Rus traveled along the great rivers of Eastern Europe, connecting the Baltic with the Black Sea and trading with Constantinople and other cities. The same seaworthiness that made longships and gnars useful for raiding and trade also enabled long-range exploration and settlement. Norse settlers reached Iceland in the 9th century, then Greenland, and eventually parts of North America, known in their sagas as Vinland. Ships carried not only warriors but also families, livestock, tools, and timber for new farms and colonies. On board, conditions were basic. There was no lower deck for the crew. Men slept in the open or under simple canvas shelters, using personal chests for storage and seating. Food was preserved fish and meat, hard bread and cheese. Water and ale were carried in barrels. Space was limited, and everyone shared the same cramped, cold, and wet environment during long voyages. Ships also played an important role in elite burials. Archaeological finds, such as the Oseberg and Gokstad graves in Norway, show high-status individuals buried in full-size ships, along with weapons, tools, animals, and household goods. This suggests that, in Norse belief, a ship was considered a suitable vehicle for a leader's journey into the next world. In England and the surrounding islands, these same ships turned quick coastal strikes into long-term political influence. Fleets that once targeted isolated monasteries began to carry larger armies, establish winter camps, and seize control of territory in the north and east. Those conquered regions became known as the Danelaw, where Norse rulers, legal customs, left a lasting imprint on local society. Over time, the effectiveness of Viking ships forced other societies to adapt. Coastal defenses were strengthened, fleets were built to oppose them, and some rulers paid tribute to avoid attacks. Norse settlements and trade links helped create new towns and roads, and shipbuilding methods influenced later medieval naval design. When the Viking Age ended, the basic technology of the long, ocean-going wooden ship survived in many regional forms, but its most dramatic impact had already been made.